once again. I have to say, it's now hard to imagine what this really looked like. It was like a moonscape. There was nothing growing on it at all. We used to call them muck stacks because the coal had been taken out and there was very little left apart from soil and things that wouldn't burn on a coal fire or in a boiler, slag. And so they then got the name slagheap rather than muck stack. Now you can get to the summit this way, but I don't recommend it. It's a rather difficult climb for people over the age of 60, I would say. I would go the other way. When we came out of the car park, I would have turned left instead of, we've turned right this time, hoping to hear the cuckoo. Well, I've just heard a willow warbler. I hope it's picked it up, the camera noise. And there it goes, that's a willow warbler. This is a nice little corner where lots of birds are calling, but there's people coming, so I'll have to stop recording. I wonder what's fetched all that bark off that tree. Anyway, this tree, look, you can see that it's not very, the girth, the thickness of it, it's not very big. That tells you it's not been in all that long. Isn't it always the case that when you start filming, all the birds stop calling? Well, I'm guessing that's a white throat. It's always good to keep looking up now and again when you're walking, because things like this happen. I don't know what's broken it off, but you could easily walk into it if it... Well, down in the bottom there's the original dike. It was there, the dike was formed before the slag heap, and there's still some bluebells down there that my son's just pointed out to me, and another broken branch. Well, you can see that there doesn't appear to be much movement in the water here, but to my right, and I can't see anything, the water is clearly audible, clearly easy to hear, and that's because there's a drop somewhere, like a small waterfall, a very small one, and that's what's making the noise. So I just thought I'd point out this silver birch. It looks as though it's falling out, and they are shallow rooted, of course. It's not very old. In fact, the tree had been dislodged by whatever's been digging out this gully. So this is where we are today, Rabbitines Country Park, and people will know from my previous vlogs, done a lot of surveys on here from the time it was a slag heap to what it is now, and you can see all those on my previous vlogs, Old John's vlogs, if you want to tell anybody else, on YouTube. So it's well marked out, different colours that you could follow. They are stickers on pieces of wood saying if it's the green, blue or red route. The green route is 2.5, the blue route is 2.7 kilometers, and the red route is 3.3 kilometers, and the black route is 3.6, and it's on the steep incline which we're on at the moment, I think. I don't recommend it. What does it say? So it says Rabbitines Country Park offers a series of waymarked routes providing healthy walking and running routes that show how far you've travelled. Route 1 in green is the shortest, Route 2 blue is slightly longer, Route 3 red covers 3.3 kilometers, and our most challenging route is Route 4, which is in black, which is more or less what I've just said, incorporating steep inclines and great views. And it just tells you there about what running and walking can do to improve your health. What is 321? 321 is Run England's project, which aims to provide a range of marked out running or jogging routes across the country that anyone can have a go at. So here's the key access point, car park where you would park up, green for grassland and woodland, water area, wetland, reed beds, track, rider's hack, bike hill route, viewpoint, industrial park and ranger's base. So Robin calling. So water always finds its lowest point. Here it's got to a low point, stagnated while the land is flattened, then it follows on further where it goes downhill again. So you can see that this has been dug out, and it's in complete contrast to the dike we've just looked at, which has taken years to develop. And this will grow back, of course, but it's not, you can't really call it a dike, more of a culvert really. One week ago we came past close to this field, into this field at the edge, and the crop has grown since that time. It's grown about, well, it's grown a few inches high, maybe a foot high, in old moths. Looks nice though. So that's where we've come from so far. Well, if you've seen our other videos when we've been going on the canal, you would have heard me mention about the railway. Well, this is the old railway line, and it's pity it can't get coupled up to have a service in Royston again. We had difficulty finding our way through there, it was that dark. Don't look it at the moment, but it's because it was a sunny day, our eyes wouldn't adjust to the light and then dark. But a lovely echo chamber under there. You can see there's a substantial beam there. Looks as though it's a massive beam actually. So the steps are leading Well, I don't know where they're leading to until we get there, to be honest. But so we've come up the steps and we're walking on this footpath. It looks as though this footpath is where it leads to where we were on the last video, but we can't go back that far today, we haven't time. Well, it's a lovely sheltered spot. I think one of those birds that's calling is a whitethroat. It's all stopped, of course. We're spoilt for choice now as to which way to go. I would love to take the right hand path, but again we haven't all that enough time today. We'll do that another time. We'll take the left hand path towards the canal, I think. Even though the sun's gone in, it's still beautiful, and there's another one at the side of it. Wow. Appreciate it while it's here, because it's not here for long. Not really sure what this is about. Might be a sinkhole. I can't see any animal footprints. There's another one just up here. And we decided we couldn't get through on the other footpath I mentioned just minutes ago, so we couldn't get through because of the growth. The footpath was overgrown, so we are taking what was the footpath that I wanted. So my son tells me these are called blue bricks, which were associated with the trains at one point many years ago. Sometimes when you're walking and you can't get through somewhere, it's a good thing, because look at this. Just look at it. Wow! It's been dug back recently. You can see the soils on the side there. Now, I don't know for sure what this is, but I do know, what I do know is that steam trains were repaired in this area, and this could have been one of the areas. You know, can you see men walking down those steps as an example and getting under the train to work? I'm sure local people will be able to tell me, but it's before my time, I'm afraid. Not being a local man, I was probably 25 before I came to Royston to live, or even older. But friends of mine would know all about this. Wow, what a discovery for me and my son. Still well preserved, these steps. Wow, what a find. Well, we don't know the extent of how far this has gone. There's more steps there. I'm assuming eventually it went that way. But there's a tree in the way now, of course. Oh, lots of trees. Let me have a little look first. So not only did Royston have its own train station, it also had repair shops for trains, for steam trains. And of course coal was landlocked, and it had to be driven away at that time by steam trains, many years ago now I think. And this is what they would use to make sure that the trains were serviced. Wow, what a find that is. I'm taken aback by it all. Do you remember on one of those earlier videos we did, I said that silver birch was shallow rooted? Well, here's a good example of one that's blown over. But that's only part of the story, because it must have been there a long time for these other silver birches to start growing just by its root system. Now what we do know, and I always suspected this, that trees can help one another out. When I was a young fellow walking through a woodland, I used to think, how can this sapling, which has no light, ever turn into a large tree? And what they found out is that tree roots help other trees. They send other trees that have got roots, and they send well, I don't know what kind of food they send to them, but they help them grow. And this tiny little sapling may be a point in case, because there's nothing around it. These two, there's nothing, it's all soil, but yet these have come in and survived and they're thriving. So what I've just told you is possibly, not probably, what's happening here. There is some more workings further on. I've just had a look while my son was filming this, and but I should say that if you want any more information about the steam trains in Royston, please contact the Royston History Group or the Royston Library. There's much more information in there than that I could ever know about. I have actually written a couple of books for the Royston History Group, transcribed I should say, and you can also find those in the public library. So here you can see some more workings, bricks and stuff, where people would have worked years ago, but I think there's more to see. So here we are with more ruins and a dike at the back of it, but there's more. Well, here's another find that we didn't know about, and what we have here is a lake. Now, I don't know for sure, but I'm wondering if this lake was used or even built to hold back water so the people who were maintaining the trains could fill the trains up with water from here. It makes the mind think. So this dike, which would have been much wider back in the day, may have been the feed for the small lake we've just seen, or pond I suppose you could say. But what a find! Never knew about it. Well, my son's just looked upon Google, and this is called the Sandy Bridge Dyke, which I thought may feed the pond I showed earlier. But since that time we've found that the other side of here is another lake. Of course it's all covered in bulrushes at the moment, and it is difficult to see. And we don't know how big the lake is because we can't get to it. But what a surprise! I've never seen this area before like that. Once again we've looked at Google, and we found out that we're on the fringes of Rabbitings and Falkirk, and to the left is the borderline for Rabbitings, a part which I've never seen. So this is a better view of the pond I saw earlier. Actually it looks massive when you're not looking through the lens of a camera. I'm not sure, that could be a song thrush. It's that long since I've heard one. They used to be in the gardens, they've now gone back to the woodlands. See if it calls again. I think that's the best. I think that's about the best we can do it. There's lots of undiscovered footpaths down here. No idea where that's going. Well, I know direction, it's going north, but I don't know what you'd have to go through as you went up the path. So here we've come out of the darkness of the wood into the sunshine. So just a last look then at the area we believe trains were pulled on to be serviced. A lot of digging out going on here. Full marks to the people who've done it. I suspect volunteers, but I would like to personally thank them. It's longer than you can imagine on the camera. Wow, it's wonderful. I think these metal structures, about 5, must have could have supported a roof at one time. I missed out on this one. Well, these two earlier. They're obviously for holding a rail in position. I suppose if more digging was undertaken, it would reveal more of the site. Well, you can see here that there's more to be uncovered. I'm sure there's a lot more to be seen. But there's a lot of work to be undertaken, and I just wonder if the people who are doing it, are financing it in themselves. If so, I can't see them doing a lot more down here, unless it's a very important area. Going back through the bridge, I can see a little bit more. My eyes have adjusted to the pole light outside, and you can hear that it's a wonderful echo chamber, and actually I've never ever been under here before, but once again, like you would expect from Martin Zero's films, if you've ever seen them, he would look at this structural brickwork, and I would say it's about 8 foot high. But unfortunately I'm unable to pick up the light, but I thought I'd mention it because there's some bricks down here that are about 12 foot long. Look at this, if it picks it up. No, it doesn't. Really large bricks. Wow, stood the test of time. I wonder if they could still have a train running over them. They are wet, these stones, but anyway, I'm moving on, because there's been fires down here, there's lots of glass, and there's probably things that we don't want to see. Anyway, here we are, coming to the end. So the bricks leading into the bridge are only small, but the further you get into the middle, the larger they get. And I suppose that might be because the rails for the trains are in the middle over the top. So here you can see there's been human intervention. The grass is cut really short, and it looks very nice, and it wouldn't put anybody off coming out and about, I suppose, no matter where it was. And now I'll show you a section where there's been no human activity. So here we are, there's been no human intervention at all, and nature has been allowed to do its own thing. There's quite a few nettles in there. But then the question for me is, and this is the part I like, is to say, why isn't there any butterflies? Well, you have to understand that 2 or 3 things. It's mid-afternoon, The sun keeps coming out and going in, so that has a bearing on the heat, and this particular area is in the shade, and butterflies like to get warmed up in the sun and move off somewhere else and do the same thing again. Here we have a cluster of blue dragonflies. If they'll keep still long enough for me to record them. And they're not going to do. I've got full zoom on, so therefore I can only have a small segment. If I pull back a bit, maybe I'd see some more, but there's certainly lots of them. That one's enjoying the sun. And they're flying about all over the shop up here. Lots of patience needed to do the filming on these things, because they're moving about all the time. The sun's just gone in, we'll see what that does. They moved. They've all gone. These look as though they could be mating to me. Yeah, I can't get settled in it. Here is a landlocked pond, and it comes, water in the winter time can come as high as that notice board there, and look how low it's gone now. And yet there's still things surviving in that water. It's June, and just look at the height of that, whatever it is, it's the greenery. Now all that in the winter will be dead, there'll be none of that at all, and then it'll all start up again in the spring, and it really amazes me, that. Wonderful the way things grow and die and grow again. So this open field that's not accessible to the public has several plants and flowers on there that are quite rare. This is one of the things that's on there, the southern marsh orchid, and the sun's just gone in, so I can't get a really good view, and this is on the notice board. These are dog roses, and we have some in our garden to attract bees. In fact, we have all sorts of stuff in our garden similar to this, simply to attract wildlife, and so far I'm glad to see lots of wildlife comes to our. I think this bladder type plant here is called a bladderwort. I'll have to look in the bush later and I'll write it on what it. So in just a short space you can see there's lots and lots of different plants and grasses growing here. just in a tiny corner. Of course we've not got the privy to be able to leave a tiny corner like this in our own gardens, because usually our gardens are not big enough to leave something like this to its own devices. So I think this is bladder worked again. It looks like a bladder, probably hence its name. But again, I'll check the books and I'll type it on the screen. So this is one of the things people do to try and prevent people walking into the next area, and they cut the trees back and lay them on one side, and as you can see they look dead, don't they? But if there's enough sap can go through when they've been laid down on their side, they will keep growing, but I'm not so sure about these. And then there's another area being created where they've taken the trees out altogether to create light at this side. You can see where my son is now, the next trees are blocking the light. Well, the trees have been taken out here so that light can get on this embankment, and that's good for butterflies. Well, I have no idea what these are, and I've seen them many times. So once again I'll have to check in the books and write it up. I believe this yellow flower is called bird's foot trefoil. I want to make sure. Well, once again, where the wildflower, they've created a wildflower area, and once again they've put these in at the back to create fencing. And lots of hours of work going in there, and when I was a young fellow I would have helped. Now in my 80s, all I can do is look. So my son tells me these are knapweed, and we know that because we've got them in our garden. Once again, we've got them in our garden to attract bees and butterflies. Here's another plant that grows in our garden, oxeye daisy. I'm sorry, I don't know what this plant flower is, but again I'll find out. And one of the reasons I don't know my flowers is I get terrible hay fever. I've suffered with it since I was about 6 years of age.